Before we dive into this episode, if you are here because you are navigating a fresh breakup, or maybe you are still holding on to the remnants of an ex long ago, whether it's months or years, I have some free goodies to share with you that is going to really support you to process your emotions and let go of this ex energy so you can step into 2026 with a clean space to welcome in someone new, even if you fill that gap for a while. So I have a free 7-day breakup detox checklist. It's going to take you through 7 days of detoxing X energy from your space, your nervous system, your heart, your soul, and really step into and feel into that secure energy within. So you can go in the show notes and download that instantly in your inbox and get started today. I also have a live masterclass that I am hosting at the beginning of January the 13th, how to let go of your ex. And this is a masterclass on detachment and cutting those cords. So if that's something that needs to happen so you can step into 2026 focusing on yourself and your own healing and not on them, sign up using the link in the show notes and I'll see you live on January the 13th. All right, let's get into this really juicy episode. Welcome back to the Relationship Rehab. I'm your host, Samantha Reed Cleaver, your attachment trauma therapist, relationship coach, breakup coach. And today's episode is one that I'm in and ahhing about sharing. But I come to the conclusion that I would like to share this experience that I had over the summer because it was such a profound experience. And that is, I met up with an ex that I haven't seen or spoke to in 6 years. It was huge. And right off the bat, I want to say that this day was one of the most healing experiences I have ever had on my journey, healing anxious attachment, healing the trauma and the abandonment wounds and everything that has come up to the surface as a result of this particular relationship, actually. And I was really sitting in consideration about sharing this episode because it is a very personal and sacred experience that happened for us both. But so much came out of it. I learned so much about myself that I really do want to share that part with you guys. So this is not a reveal all, give me the gossip type of episode. It's more about the reflections of what came out of this experience that I sat with and integrated just after. This man was someone I thought was my person forever. I have spoke about him on my content before. He is that guy that I thought was the one who got away. He was the guy that I was in a relationship with that I thought I completely screwed up, completely sabotaged. And we were together for about 2 years and we broke up and I was devastated. It was one of those heartbreaks that I genuinely didn't think I would ever get over, that I was going to just feel this pain forever. And I was never going to come to terms with the fact that we were no longer partners. Going no contact was actually essential because if I take you back just a moment to when we did break up, I really was trying to stay in contact with this person. I was still very much in contact with his family. I just didn't want to let him go. I really wanted him to see that he had made a huge mistake. We tried to have contact, I think, a little bit a year after, and it still was not the time. So going no contact really was the best thing I did for myself back then, for each other. The only way that I was informed about his life was through his family and through social media. And I could see that he moved on and had a new partner. I moved on, had my new partner. But I have a lot to thank that relationship for because it really was one of the biggest catalysts that launched me into healing my anxious attachment style because I genuinely thought that this person was the one who got away and was the love of my life, and I didn't want that to happen again. So, in a way, it was really good that I was in that space and thinking that about this person. So, when he reached out 6 years later, I was shocked but also really excited. He was in town. And he asked if we could go for a coffee. And immediately I had this full body yes. But it wasn't coming from a place of, yes, I really want to see you and I'm longing for you and I really want us to reconnect because maybe there's something between us and we can rekindle our love. That is not what was on my mind at all. If anything, I was so curious about how we would be when we would meet back up because I was so sure I had completely healed from this relationship, from this person. And on my journey, I became a coach in attachment trauma. That is how much it changed my life that I am now guiding other people to do just that, do the same. So, this is my work and my life becoming securely attached. I was so curious about how I was going to be in this space with this person. I wanted to see how much I had actually healed and processed this trauma that had kept me in that I was in a sabotage space in that relationship and the behaviors and the patterns that manifested from being in this relationship with this person. I just wanted to talk about it with him, but not because I felt like I needed to. A lot of us feel like we need to meet back up with our exes because we need closure. I had got myself to the point where I did not need that from him anymore. Yes, I was curious. Of course, I was curious, but it was not from a place of need. I didn't need it. I was totally fine if we were never going to see each other again. And I think when you're in that place where you no longer need closure from this person, because closure is an internal experience, then out of the blue, they come out of the woodwork, and you are able to be with this person and have these conversations, reflect, get closure as a result. So, another big reason I am sharing this with you, my love, today is because I have shared this story with a few friends who also have exes that broke their heart and have really been a profound component of their healing. And as I'm telling this story and my experience, having this reconnection with this person, what they say is, you give me hope. I heard it a few times. You give me hope. I wonder if you would be open to sharing this on your podcast because I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I would love to be in the future. And I feel the same. If I was to listen to somebody talking about an experience where they reconnected, not rekindled, reconnected with someone who was so important to them from their past and was able to have such a healthy, detached conversation about their relationship. Wow. I would want to listen to that too. So here it goes. Like I said, we're not going to go through nitty-gritty details because I have a lot of respect for this person. This is about me. This is about my story, my experience, and my reflections on my journey. And at the end, I'll give you some questions and food for thought for you to really see if you're ready to meet back up with this person and have those really healing conversations, because I do recommend it, but you have to be ready for it. You have to be in a certain space where you're not going to fall back into those old patterns. Okay, let's get into this, guys. For years, I had sat with grief and stories around how this relationship ended. And that fueled curiosity over the years, what it would be like to reconnect with this person and share our stories and share our perspectives on our relationship, and even be in a place where I can hear from him in a non-defensive way what he thought about the whole relationship and my behavior and my patterns, what I need to work on. I thought, what a beautiful opportunity to revisit that mirror and see what else could be there if I was going to be triggered in any way. And I could do the same for him. So I was not coming into it hoping to have some fantasy reunion, hoping that he would take one look at me and declare his undying love. And maybe this time we can make it work. No, there was none of that. But I will be honest, the morning that we met, I did have a few wobbles where I was afraid that I might fall back into old patterns. Immediately, I'm noticing it. I'm not judging it. I'm observing it. Okay, there's excitement, there's curiosity. But what if I do see him and all the butterflies and explosions start to happen in my body again? And I'm like, shit, what's happening? So I had to set myself some clear boundaries. I had to have that conversation, calm my nervous system on the morning of, and tell myself, if this is to happen, if you do notice these emotions coming up, it's okay, first and foremost. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to explain to him as vulnerably as possible what is happening with that. And we're going to request for some time to calm the nervous system and when to walk away, all of this. So I felt very confident that I had my own back. And I think that was the most important thing when you go into anything, that you have your own back, that you have set your intentions, promises, and boundaries with yourself first and foremost, because only you have control over you. You don't have control over that other person and how they are going to come into this experience and how they're going to react and respond and feel and think. So I'm sitting in the coffee shop waiting for him because I get there early. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of these people that if I'm feeling a little nervous and I'm meeting up with somebody and it's a big deal, because it is a big deal, I like to get there early because I'm the one who likes to settle, maybe have a few sips of coffee and ground myself before this person comes in. So, big tip, be the early one. He comes into the cafe and I take one look at him. And it's like as if I'm reconnecting with an old friend. I don't feel any explosions or butterflies. If anything, I'm really happy to see him. And it doesn't feel like it used to. It's a different feeling. So I had this moment of, wow, I really don't have any romantic feelings towards this person. I felt very assured about that. So instantly I was able to relax a lot more. And we spent, I think, a total of 8 or 9 hours that day drinking coffee, walking around the city, being in the park, and we talked so much and we laughed a lot. There was a lot of reminiscing, but again, not from this place of like, oh, how amazing that chapter was of our lives, but it was more about reflection upon who we used to be. Because this is 6 years later now. I can't talk for him, but I had done a lot of healing and growing and I was a completely different person. And he even said that. And that was such a big compliment. You seem different. I can see that you've been really working on yourself. But of course, I was still me. I was still had my personality. And it was funny because he would say things like, oh, I remember you do that. I remember this is your sense of humor, or this is what you're like, but everything felt so light. And we have more deeper conversation, but it didn't have this weight of heaviness on them because I did not get defensive. I didn't take anything personally because I felt like I was reflecting on a completely different time in my life because it was a completely different chapter that I had experienced that I no longer associate myself with. I'm no longer replaying and repeating that experience in my mind, nervous system, and my soul. So I'm able to detach and observe myself 6 years ago, but not from this space of feeling any type of shame or resentment or guilt or embarrassment. If anything, we would say to each other, do you remember when that happened, when you stormed out and I chased you down the street? Oh God, what we like? And we would just laugh about these times where we were young and we were so in love and the behaviors and the patterns and the fights and the arguments and the good times as well. We would reflect upon them. But again, it wasn't from this sadness of like, oh, I loved you so much and I wish I could go back to that time. No, it was like, I loved you so much and you loved me so much. And what a beautiful experience we had 6 years ago. We had conversations around what we really appreciated about each other and what we didn't appreciate about each other, what we feel didn't work, why we ended up breaking up. So, all in all, it really was like conscious uncoupling. But when you have an anxious, avoidant, fearful, avoidant attachment style, it is near impossible to have those really tough conversations because you're so raw and so much in pain and so heartbroken. So, to be able to have conscious uncoupling experience with him 6 years later was amazing. So I want to touch upon three big realizations that I had during the experience and after as I integrated it and journaled and processed it. The first one is I was truly detached from this person. Even though I knew I was. Like, it's been 6 years. I didn't think about him anymore. And like I said, this is the person I thought that I would never get over. He was my person. He was the person I thought I was going to marry and have babies with, and I would never find anyone like that again. I was getting on with my life. I was seeing him on social media getting on with his life and not being triggered by that. That's when I knew that I had truly moved on and I was ready for this type of conversation. But being in front of him, I did not want him back at all. I did not want to please or prove or be perfect in front of him. I was so relaxed. He was like two human beings coming together, having a coffee and a chat, reflecting upon a shared experience that they had years ago that really shaped them as humans. These people are really important to us, and I feel like it is my wish one day for all of you to be able to arrive to a space where you can have this experience, because honestly, it was so incredible. But even if you don't, that's okay. You can have this with yourself or with a new partner where you may feel safe enough to reflect on past relationships and heal from them with someone who does feel like they can hold the space for that type of reflection. So it was really interesting to observe who I was being in the shared environment with this person and compare it to who I used to be, how I used to see him, how I used to behave with him, and how far I've come. Really, it was the most beautiful comparison of before and after 6 years ago to now, and it really validated the work that I put into myself. And I spent so much time just thanking myself and being grateful for all the pain and the heartbreak that I went through from this relationship that gets me to this space now. And I whispered to myself, wow, I really do feel so secure within myself. Because the old me would have read everything as a sign. She would have fallen back into those patterns of wanting to please him, even if she didn't even want him back. She would have wanted him to see what he was missing, to see that I was the one who got away. There was none of that game playing. There was none of that ego coming through that really wanted to make him feel guilty for breaking up the relationship or make him want to kick himself because he let me go. Nah. And to be detached from someone doesn't necessarily mean that you don't no longer care for this person. It wasn't that I no longer cared or I wasn't bothered or I didn't give a shit. I did care and I do care about this person, and I truly, genuinely, hand on heart, want the best for this human, but I do not want him in my future. He is not my future. He is my past, and we are having a present moment experience together to help each other reflect on this relationship. Not that we needed it, but it was a bonus, it was a desire. So we can continue to move forward with our lives, knowing that we have truly closed that chapter in our lives, and there is absolutely no reason now to revisit it. And when I look at my year overall, as I call it, my shedding year, there's been many, many experiences and opportunities that have come forward where I have been invited to close loops, to close up chapters. I really feel like 2026 is going to have so much newness come in. I am just so grateful that God orchestrated this meetup. My realization number two. So, as if you've been following me for a while, you might have seen some of my content about this particular person, and the way that I frame him in my stories is that he is the one that got away. I was the one that completely sabotaged this. He was the most secure partner I ever had. Well, first of all, when he initially reached out to me, all our old messages were still there and visible. And of course, curiosity got the best of me. I haven't looked at our messages in years. So I reread them from a place of curiosity. And I'm like, wow. One, I don't even remember this time, to be honest. Maybe I blanked it out. But rereading them put me back in that space. And I was like, this is not really connected to the story that I was telling myself, that it was all my fault, that I was putting all the blame on myself. But he had some stuff to take accountability for as well. And he wasn't perfect. I remember bringing this up in our conversation. And he also mentioned that he have seen some of my content and has read about himself. And at first I'm like, oh gosh, oh, cringe. But he said it's interesting because I was reading your content and that's not how I remember it. I'm like, oh, okay, please share what your perspective is. He was very forthcoming in taking accountability and responsibility for his stuff that happened in the relationship as well. So as we were having these conversations, I was like, oh, yeah, I do remember that happened. And I remember this is why I reacted this way. Wow, I really wasn't all to blame. And what that did for me internally was release a lot of the shame that I held about myself and about that relationship. I thought that my anxious attachment ruined this relationship. And if it wasn't for my anxious attachment, then we would still be together. I can see now quite clearly that we were not meant to be together. We were not compatible. And it was exactly how it was meant to happen. Of course, you don't see it at first because you're so attached and in love with this person. But once you have detached, once you've come out of it, 6 years later, I was like, wow, we would not have worked. It would have disintegrated eventually. So it's interesting that when we create stories about our past relationships and experiences with people, how we can sometimes filter them through the trauma that we hold, or through our attachment style, or through the beliefs that we have about ourselves or that person. These conversations can really shine a light on what are stories and what is the truth. What actually happened and what happened in your head or what you thought happened. That brought so much lightness to my heart that it wasn't all my fault. That I didn't completely ruin it. And it wasn't the fact that I was too much or not enough or not worthy, but it was two people that had their own stuff, that brought their own trauma into this relationship, trying their best to make it work because there was so much love there, and it just didn't. And it just didn't. And the acceptance that can come from that as we're looking at each other, making eye contact, holding each other's hands. And we were like, I had a great experience with you, but it was only meant to be what we experienced and nothing more. I walked away from that experience smiling, feeling so light, so secure, and so grateful that I was the person I am now, that I was able to have that. I wouldn't have even dreamt of that being possible for me years ago. That meeting was like this full body confirmation that I am secure. I have upgraded my self-worth. I have upgraded my standards, my boundaries, my autonomy, and how I think. I'm not afraid to disagree or give my opinion. I feel so strong in myself. And even though I knew this about myself, there's nothing like meeting someone from your past to truly confirm that in such a solid way. And now it's been about 4 months since I met up with him. And moving forward, I don't feel like it's necessary now to have this person in my life as a quote unquote friend. I'm not trying to be besties. And if we were in the same country, I wouldn't be feeling the urge to meet up and hang out and have whole new experiences with this person because I really have made my peace with him, with who I used to be, with that relationship. I don't feel it necessary for him to have any type of part in my life. Of course, I'm going to be civil if we do happen to bump into each other or be in the same spaces. I'm glad that we are able to have cleared the air so we can, but I'm not going to force it. I'm not even going to initiate it. I truly, truly care and have love for this person, and I really do want the best for him. But he does not belong in my future. Just closing that loop, I know has shifted so much for me on a spiritual level. not just external or even internal, but something greater than me has shifted. And I'm really excited now to see what is going to come into fruition and from that space. So, my love, even though this experience was probably the most incredible experiences I've ever had in regards to reflecting on relationships and meeting back up with people from my past. It is not necessary for your healing. Like I said, I had done all that for myself. This was a bonus that just so happened. I didn't feel like I needed it. But if you did get the opportunity and the chance to, and you really do feel like you are ready for it, it can be the most incredible mirror. It can be the most incredible opportunity to really see how you have healed, how you have grown, and how much work you put in yourself. So, to finish off this episode, I want to give you some guidelines into assessing whether this is the right choice and option for you. First of all, don't go looking for it. Wait to see if the opportunity just so presents itself. So you're not in this chasing energy. Questions to ask yourself: if your ex reaches out to you to offer the opportunity, are you genuinely curious and excited to reflect? Or are you secretly hoping that you will rekindle and reunite and respark something between you? Do you feel grounded and calm speaking to this person? Or do you feel really anxious? If this meeting didn't go ahead, would you still be okay? If this meeting changed nothing, would you still want to go? Now, a couple of signs to look out for that may indicate that you're not quite ready yet is if you know that they have a new partner and that really makes you feel sad or angry or bitter. If you're still checking their social media obsessively, and you want to know about them all the time, and you're still having those fantasizing thoughts about getting back together. These are still some signs that there may need to be some healing work done on your end and closure within yourself, first and foremost, before you come back to have this uncoupling conversation. All right, I think that is all that I would love to share, my loves. I just really hope that this episode has given you some insight on one, that this can actually happen, because really I didn't believe that it could. I really didn't believe that I could reconnect with someone from my past. And not that we're developing a friendship, but we said to each other, we can be friends. We don't need to be in each other's lives all the time, and we won't be, but we can still have somewhat of a friendship, even if it is a very distant one. Two, to give you hope that the more you heal, even though your healing journey should be for you and only you, not to get back with someone, not to prove something else to somebody, not to reconnect and have closure talks with an ex. That should not be your priority, but it does give an insight into what's possible. What are the bonuses, the ripple effect of doing that healing journey for yourself and having those really healthy conversations and connections with people from your past? So, as always, I would love to know what you think. If you've had any insights as you've been hearing my experience, if you do need some support in cleansing out any stuck or old triggers or energy that you feel from the person that you may have been going through a breakup with, either this year or last year, I would love to invite you to download my breakup detox guide that I did on my own breakup with this person. I actually went away and did a full on detox from my heart, my environment. I moved countries, not saying that you need to do that, but a detox ritual absolutely does need to happen in order to support you to move on. And I do have a live masterclass that I'll be running at the beginning of January, how to let go of your ex. So I'd love to have you join there as well. The links to sign up for those things are in the show notes. Just want to say thank you so much for being here on this journey with me as we're all healing. I'm still on my journey, and this was such a personal, sacred experience, a massive part of my own personal healing journey. So I just want to thank you for giving me the space to share this with you. Sending you all my love, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast. If you really enjoyed this episode, it would really mean a lot to me if you was to share this episode with a friend who really needs to hear what has been talked about today, and also to rate and review this podcast. Hit that subscribe or follow button so you don't miss any new episodes coming out. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.